Actually, so it's interesting. You said about three times in your question about the word back. I think that's where we
Ah,
all hearts are, right? We all want to go back. We want to go back to where it was before. And what I'm
yeah.
discovering is the churches that are beginning to thrive and not just survive have
Mm,
seen this as an opportunity to move ahead and move forward and not necessarily move back. And that's
mm,
hard. That's really hard. Everything within us wants to go back to something familiar. And we struggle with the idea that actually what the pandemic did is it revealed a lot of things that we need to address in the life of the church
yeah.
that we haven't, and that we need to think about what would it be look like to have to move into the future in a different way. And there's lots of nuances to that, but what's really common is everybody, almost every church I know, is wishing we could go back and beginning to now
Yep.
soberly acknowledge that going back means going back to what exactly? Like the
Yeah.
church that was losing 1 million young people a year, like going back to denominations that are in crisis and divided, going back to there are some
Hmm.
really good things. We miss seeing people we love, and we want to be in worship again, and we want to be caring
Yeah.
for people a lot and care and
Yeah.
see our friends. But there is this opportunity to think about what a new future could be, that the healthiest churches are not wasting this crisis at this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your work with pastors and churches, like how are you helping them understand where to go if we're not going back? How do you help them figure out what's next?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the times when I'm in these places, I will refer to an article by Ronald Heifetz in
Mm,
2009 where he talked about leadership in a time of permanent crisis. We did a whole webinar at the Degree Center on this, and what's interesting about it is that he talks about the moment of a crisis actually gives you a moment to address the underlying issues that we haven't had the will to address before.
mm,
So he said there's an acute phase where you're trying to just survive, and we tried to get through that. And then there's what he calls the adaptive phase, where you actually
yeah.
look at the underlying issues of the things that were there before, but maybe now we have the will to have to look at. So and many churches have talked about this. Things that were apparent before the pandemic got speeded up, like the pandemic was an accelerator, and
Mm,
it
yeah.
really created, and it was a universal experience. Churches of
Yeah.
all stripes and sizes and kinds and tribes are all
Yeah.
experiencing the same disrupted world, and so now we're all having to ask some questions about what the future should look like.